Okay, so we're going to finish up our review from yesterday. After we do that, I am going to kind of talk through the next couple of weeks' schedule. I know that you probably already kind of saw it because you had to go, to class second period today, or homeroom time. You went to second period, so you kind of got a sense maybe of what it's going to look like. But I want to talk specifically about my class, where you're going to go to take your test, and all that stuff. So, first of all, though, we've got about 6 more of these to finish. Does everybody have theirs out? Hey, do me also another favor. Get out your formula sheet that I gave you. When we learned this, I referred to something, and I told you that we weren't going to use it. And here's what I said. But it is used. It is sometimes seen on the EOC test, and I want you to be aware of what it is and what it looks like. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. All right, here we go. So number 10. Yes, sir. You didn't get what? Oh, you didn't get yours back. Yeah. Neither did Hunter. Thank you for bringing that up. Hey, pass that over. Pass this over to Hunter. Okay, so number 10. Again, you could work backwards and solve this problem. These were the equations that we called finding time. Y'all remember that? We call these finding time. So, anyways, I would not encourage you guys to do this. Instead, how are you gonna solve this problem? You're gonna plug those values into what? It's asking in approximately how many years. So that's obviously my t. That's my time. So I'm literally gonna plug it right here into t until I find the one that is closest to what value? 11,200. That's my goal here. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. So again, this is a straight calculator problem. So I'm going to reset my calculator real quick, and I'm going to start typing this in. In fact, there's a kind of a good way to do this. It's a little quicker. So I'm going to do 5,600. And again, Brady, don't forget where to find E. Do you remember where it is? Where do you find E? Euler's number. We did it when we did a couple of different types of problems, logarithms. Do you remember where to find it in the calculator? Everybody remember this. It's in 2 spots. You don't even need alpha. It's just second, and it's either ln or it's divided by. It doesn't matter which one you do. So I'm going to do the second ln, and there it is. Now, the rest of this is 0.0559, and then we're multiplying that by t. So you're going to use all these values for t. So we got 34 first. What does that equal? Is that even close to 11,200? Of course not. So I'm going to mark out A. I'm confident it's not that. Now watch this. This is kind of an easy saving, like a time-saving technique. Just scroll up, grab it, and this time we're going to do it again, but we're going to replace 34 with what? 17. Push enter. Is that close to 11,200? It's closer than A was, but still it seems pretty far away. So let's grab it again, and this time let's do C, 12 years. Is that pretty close to 11,200? Absolutely. It's really close. So I'm going to hold on to that one for sure. I think that's got to be it. But let's just double check. So go grab it one more time. And this time let's replace that 12. So if you go and grab it, you just delete one of those and then you push 5. Is that closer to 11,200? No, it was definitely 12. 12 years. So again, that's a problem where you straight type it into your calculator. Okay? Let's keep on moving along. Number 11. Number 11 and 12, there's no tricks. You just kind of have to look at what you're given and make decisions. So, for example, it tells me that these wooden boxes come in heights of 5 to 10 inches. Here's why that's important. Again, I know that you guys probably don't even need this explanation, but here's why that's important. Is that just a window into a bigger function, what you have in that table? Or is that the whole function? That's the entire function. Because they only come in heights of what? 5 to 10. And there they all are. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the whole function. So we're seeing the entire picture. Okay? Now that's really only helpful for one of those, but here we go. Here's how we do it. 1. Is the function increasing? Absolutely. So not only does that answer A, it also unanswers what? C. There's no way it's increasing and also decreasing. Okay? You can't pick both of those. It's only going up. It cannot go down, as you can see. B and D are the ones that sometimes trick people. I don't think E does. But B says the volume increases by a common factor of 1.6. What does that mean to be a common factor? Y'all remember? Yes, it means it's being multiplied by that same value over and over again. So I check that. So I go to my calculator. It's all calculator. Go 210 times 1.6. Do 210 times 1.6. Sorry. What is 210 times 1.6? It's 336. So does that mean I automatically pick B? No, you got to keep, it's a common factor. Means it needs to keep doing that. So let's do it again. What's 336 times 1.6? It's not 504, is it? So 1.6 is not a common factor. It was maybe from the first to the second value, but that was it. So it's not B. Now look at D. The function is not linear. What concept do we have to understand for us to know whether something's linear? That's it. The numbers have to go up consistently. Same value. That's what a line is. This one doesn't go up 100 and then this one goes up 700. It has to keep going up the same amount. So what do we use to check that? We use our calculator. And what operation? Subtraction. So do that. All right, y'all ready? What's 336 minus 210? 126. So check that. Let's see if you keep on adding 126. What's 336 plus 126? No, it'd be bigger than that. 336 plus 126. Not 504, is it? So, is this answer, D, is that correct or not correct? It's correct. Because linear means it's going up the same amount. This one's not. So, it's true that it's not linear. Okay? That's true. It's not linear. It wasn't going up by the same amount every time. Consistently. And then the last one, the maximum value is 1320. That should have been a pretty easy one. Because remember, we're seeing the whole picture, aren't we? There's nothing they're leaving out. There's no part of this function you don't see. So what is the biggest value of the function? 1320. So definitely E. So our answers are A, D, and E. Questions? All right, let's move right along. This one is very, very similar. Instead of a table, you're looking at a graph. What is your y-axis? What's your y-axis? Height. What's your x-axis? Time. Okay, so let's look. Select all that apply. Does the graph go, does the graph go from increasing to decreasing? Is it going up and then back down? For sure. So A, definitely an answer. Okay, B has gotten people in several of my classes. What does range mean? What can y equal, right? So this is saying that y can be from 4 to 22. Is that true? No. Why? Because it comes below 4, doesn't it? Technically, it goes all the way down to what? So my range, my y value, could be anything from 0 to 22. So A or B is not true. Okay? Let me erase that. The next concept says this. The rocket is in the air for 4 seconds. Remember, time is on the horizontal axis, right? From when that thing's launched to when it lands, how long is it in the air? 4 seconds. Look, guys, it's right here between 3.8 and 4.2. That's 4 seconds. So C is definitely correct. Okay, look at D. The rocket reaches a maximum height of 22. I've got it highlighted up there. Is that the highest place it gets? 22? Absolutely. So D is correct. So last one, E. The rocket travels a greater distance upward than downward. No, because where did it start? Start at 4 meters. So maybe it was on a stand. Maybe it was on the roof of a building. It went from 4 to 22, right? That'd be a total of 18 meters. But then it fell all the way down to the ground. It fell all the way down to 0 meters. So it went up 18, fell 22. So E is not true. So mark it out. And our answers are A, C, and D. Any questions about that one? Okay, please at this point, grab that formula sheet out for me real quick. Number 13, Landon, we kind of skipped it. It's kind of down in the corner hiding. I want to show you guys something real quick. Y'all got your formula sheet. If you guys recall, when we were doing arithmetic and geometric sequences right here, we came across this equation. It was in your note sheet, and I told you I'm not going to use it. But I want you to be aware of it because we've seen it on the EOC test. I remember I told you that. Remembered it, didn't remember it, doesn't matter. Okay? I'm referring to it now. This formula right here is what this particular problem is asking about. So I want you to notice a couple things about the formula. What is this value that's supposed to be up top, out in front? Your first term. Okay, here's the point. Look at this equation. You can if you're familiar with that equation and you're familiar that it's on your reference sheet, when you see this, can't you tell what it's referring to? Huh? I hope so. So here's the first thing I want you guys to consider. According to the words here, what did Tim run on day 1? What did Tim run on day 1? So shouldn't A sub 1, day 1, shouldn't 1 over 16 be out front, up top? Look at A. Is 1 over 16 up front, up top on the front, at the front? So I know it's not A. On B, is 1 over 16 up top, up front? Huh? Hold on to B. Is C, do you have 1/16 on top, up front? Nope, get rid of C. And D is 1/16 up top, out front. I think I said it wrong. Up, yeah, up top, out front. Oh my goodness, I'm having hard times with words today. So here's the deal. We're down to B and D. If you look carefully at B and D, don't you notice that the big difference between the two is B has 4, where D has 1/4? Guys, go back to your equation real quick. What is the value that had the exponent? What is it? Somebody say it's R. Yeah, it's R. Very good. It's R. Do you guys recall what R is? The common ratio. Do y'all remember how to find the common ratio? Because that's the key. That tells me whether it's supposed to be 4 or 1/4. How did we find, Hunter, how do we find the common ratio? You took the second term and you divided it by the first term. Do y'all remember that? What did we just say the first term was? 1/16 has to be in the bottom. Guys, what did Tim run on day 2? So his A sub 2 was 1/4. So if I go to my calculator and I do, let me move this over again. If I go back to my calculator and I do alpha y equals number 1, and I put 1/4 up top over 1/16 in the bottom, what does my common ratio have to be? So guys, which one has to be my correct answer? P. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, okay, so here's my answer to that. Let me show you. On the reference sheet, the formula, of course, has your a sub 1 up front, but then it has 1 minus r to the n power, and on the bottom it has 1 minus r. But in this problem, we had our a sub 1 up front, and then instead it had r to the n minus 1 over r minus 1. So the question is, how are those the same thing? And here's the best explanation I can give you. They are the same thing, and here's why. I want you to think, right here that 1 is positive. Here, what is it? Negative. Here that r to the n is negative. What is it here? Positive. They've changed. So technically, it's like you multiply by what? Negative 1. Look at the bottom. Was positive 1, what is it? It was negative r, what is it? So also in the denominator, I multiply by negative 1. So if I multiply the numerator and the denominator both by negative 1, did I change the value? So even reversing those binomials, as long as I reverse both of them, it's completely okay. So it's the same thing because I reversed both of them. If only one was reversed, it would have been an issue. But since they were both the same, they were both reversed, then it's technically, it's the exact same formula. It's like this. What's 2 divided by 4? Value-wise. 0.5. What's negative 2 divided by negative 4? See, that's all that happened. It just changed the order, so technically, it did not change the value. Okay? That's a good question. And that's why they look a little different, but they are the same. Okay? Any questions with number 13? Again, if you notice, you didn't even solve the problem. You just had to see the formula. So please don't forget that that formula is on your formula sheet. It's not one you have to know. It's not one you have to memorize. It's just one that when you see a problem that's written like that, you can easily go and compare it, okay? All right, last two. Number 14, one, it talks about a sequence. Doesn't a sequence change the same way every time? But then what kind of sequence does it refer to the actual equation? Recursive. Do you guys recall what I told you has to be in a recursive formula? A sub n minus 1. With that being said, what can I eliminate right off the bat? C does not use a sub n minus 1. It uses a sub n plus 1, which basically calls on the next term. That's not recursive. Recursive calls on the previous term. You can't call on your next term. You don't even know what your next term is. How are you going to call on a term that you don't even know what it is? You know what I mean? Now, here's the point. I have three options. My numbers, my sequence, are either changing, like A, where you're taking your previous term and you're doing what to it? Multiplying by If I picked A, what's it doing? It's taking the previous term and it's multiplying by 0.8. Or B, it takes the previous term and it does what? Subtracts 2400. Or lastly, it takes your previous term and it multiplies by 5/4. So let's just check. Now listen, you check it all. It won't take long. So we start with 12,000 and I multiply by 0.8. Does that give me the next value, 9,600? Tony, put your phone away. I multiply by 0.8 again. Move your box to your lunch box or whatever that is and put your phone away. I multiply by 0.8 again. Does it give me 7680? Tony, put your phone away. I multiply by 0.8 again. Does it give me that next value? So every time it's taking the previous term and it's multiplying by 0.8. Now, there's only one answer here, right? So did I find it? Now, I can check though. If I took 12,000 and I subtracted 2,400, like B says, does it give me the next value? So let's do it again. Minus 2,400. Does it give me the next value? So we disproved B. The last one left is D. Let's take 12,000 and let's multiply it by 5/4. Does it equal the next value, 9,600? So we disproved that one really quickly. So the only thing it could possibly follow is A. It's multiplying the previous term by 0.8. Questions? Okay, last one, number 15, is a graph. How are we going to figure out which one it is? Just go plug y equals, go to y equals, plug in these equations one at a time. And I would encourage you guys to recognize 4 things. 1, what is this graph doing from left to right? It's going down, right? Also, I'd like you to recognize that it's curving. Y'all see the curve? The next 2 things are the key, in my opinion. Where does it cross the y-axis? Where does it cross the x-axis? Okay, so it's going down, it's curving, and it's crossing the x-axis and the y-axis at 2. So let's look at A. So I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type in negative 2x to the 3rd power. Is it going down? Is it curving? Is it crossing the y at 2 and the x at 2? Then it cannot be A. So we try B, which is the same thing. So go back to y equals. It's the same thing, but it has plus 2 on it. So watch this one. Is it going down from left to right? Is it curving? Does it go through y at 2? Does it go through x at 2? No. Okay, it almost had everything, but it didn't. So it's not B. So last problem, y equals, we're going to type it in, negative 1/4 x to the 3rd power plus 2. Okay, this one. Does it go down from left to right? Does it curve? Does it go through the y-axis at 2? Does it go through the x-axis at 2? This has all the things, right? So it has to be what? It has to be C. Now, just for good measure, and I hope you guys do this because it doesn't take that long. Just check the last one. Just make sure you didn't type something in wrong. We got 1/2. And most of you already see the problem, don't you? What do you notice is the problem when you typed in 1/2? It's positive, right? Will positive go up, down from left to right? No, it goes up. So there's no way it's D. It has to be A, or C, I'm sorry. It has to be C. Questions about that? All right, so that's your, that is your last subpart that we're going to go through the way we've gone through these last couple of days where we take a subpart and go through it. We have some more reviews that we're going to do together, but it'll be a little different. So, let me go through something first, and then you'll have some time to do that. Hang tight just for a second.